Yale Simpson is a very, very interesting guy. As I said, in the interest of full disclosure, I am an investor in the company Exeter Resources, and in addition to that, Yale and his family, and I can't say this often enough, are really close friends of my family's and mine. So don't construe any of the conversations that we have on this show pertaining to publicly traded companies. Don't construe that as being investment advice, because it definitely is not. Okay. Onward and upward from the Hard Asset Conference in San Francisco. I've got the big poobah, so to speak, with me right now, Jonathan Moore. Jonathan runs the show. Jonathan has been doing it for quite some time now. He's evolved into a good friend of mine. We're going to talk a little bit about where these shows are going. First of all, what's your impression of this show?
Well, first of all, thanks, Al. It's always great to be with you. The show's great. This is probably our anchor event out of the programs that we do here in the States. It's always a good crowd. We've been doing it here for a long time, so we have a strong following. Obviously, a little bit of a challenging market, but attendance is right on par with what we had last year. So in this marketplace, we're pretty pleased with that. Good buzz here at the show, a lot of energy, a lot of good discussions going on. So far, we're very pleased.
Fantastic. Now, before we get into another subject, the subject of where you guys are taking this show, let's talk about where the show is right now, Jonathan. Now, you do 3 shows in the United States. You do San Francisco, where we are right now. You do Chicago, which Kathy and I attended, and you do New York also, which we attended. All very, very great shows. But your real big one, if I'm not mistaken, is in South Africa.
Yeah, that's correct. We do 2 international programs. We just launched a new one in Singapore that took place last month, and the Cape Town event, which takes place every February, is our largest event. That has over 7,000 attendees, big global presence. All the big mining houses are there, and it's a very interesting program, very different than what we have here, much more on the professional investor side, institutionals, and it's February in Cape Town, so it's not tough duty.
Well, you've been doing that for a long time, and it is a really good show. I wanted to branch out and talk a little bit about where these shows are evolving. A lot of trade shows. You guys are, one of the biggest in the business, for lack of better terms. But I'm getting a lot of comments, Jonathan, from folks who are saying, we think it's going to become mostly virtual in the future. I've got a couple of interesting thoughts about that, and one of those thoughts is there's nothing like in-person contact. What do you think about all of this?
Yeah, I think that the reality is there is no doubt that virtual events are becoming a regular part of the fabric of the event business. They have been for some time. I think they have a very strong value proposition. I think that value proposition is different than an in-person event. What you have the opportunity to do here at a show like this, when you can sit down and talk to someone, when you can read their facial expressions, when you can see their body language, even if it's a video-enabled discussion, it's just not the same. And the opportunity to do that with the magnitude of people that are at a show like this makes the value proposition for something like this quite unique. So I think that in-person events will always be here. The death of the in-person event has been talked about for years, and it's just never going to happen. Now, having said that, I do think that there's definitely a place for virtual events. I think they have a strong value proposition. I just think it's slightly different than what you can get at an event like this.
I think it's totally different than what you get at an event like this. But obviously, with a virtual event, you're gonna increase your audience by 1,000-fold. Now, having said that, what is your organization's plan for the future?
It's a great question. We've got a number of things that we're working on. First, the Chicago program is a new one for us this year. We are now exploring other venues and other opportunities for us to expand the event here in the States. Globally, we just launched the Asia program. Similarly, we're looking for ways for us to expand that global footprint. As it relates to the structure of the events and how we run stuff, we're constantly looking for new things that we can work into these. I've got a couple of things here with respect to how attendees are engaging our sponsors and exhibitors, how attendees are engaging other attendees. I certainly think that there's an opportunity for us to take some of what we do here, capture it on site, repurpose it into a digital format so that we can get out to that audience that can't come here physically and be this, but still be able to get the message of what the assets events are about out to that universe. So I think there's a number of different things that we're doing on that front. The other thing that is going to start to unfold with respect to these events and the hard asset side is we're going to look at some slight changes to how we brand them. We're going to focus more on metals and minerals in the branding of it as opposed to strictly hard assets. I think hard assets is very well known for our core audience. I think they gravitate to it. They know what it means. But that mainstream investor, I think, sometimes looks at hard assets and is not quite sure what this is all about and what they might benefit from in attending something like this.
Well, I mean, it's been my contention for a long, long time that these shows, your primary value, in my opinion, lies in education. You know, you've got the cream of the crop in terms of the speakers. Okay, what a great way to learn more about our industry than to actually listen to what these people are saying. The venue is, I mean, it's not a small venue, but it's not a huge venue, and so there are opportunities to speak one-on-one, face-to-face with some of the real experts. And, that's one of the reasons that I find real value in these things. The companies that exhibit here, what a great way to learn about a company. If you're really thinking about investing in them, as you said, all you have to do is walk up to one of the many booths that you have, talk to the people. You can read the man or woman's body language, you can hear what they have to say, and it's just a great way to learn about companies.
It really is, and I think it's that combination of the experts that we have speaking and the opportunity to talk firsthand with those senior executives at the mining houses. So if you sit and you listen to an Al Korelin or a Jim Dines or a Rick Rule, and you hear what they're looking at and what they see in the marketplace, and then go and translate that to specific questions of a CEO at a particular mining house, that can really help you in pinpointing the opportunities that are going to fit best into your portfolio and into your investment strategy from a personal perspective.
Oh, I agree 100%. Let's go on to a subject that's near and dear to both of our hearts, but again, it's a subject that is perhaps a bit off track from talking about this specific conference, but let's talk about metals and minerals. Let's talk about gold and silver. What are your thoughts? Give me a projection for the midterm.
Sure. Well, you and I talked back in October, and I think we both agreed that at that point the market was waiting for this election to get done and taken care of so that at least everybody knew where they stood. Obviously, that's taken place now. I think what we will start to see headed into the new year is a significant amount of money flowing back into the marketplace. I am continue to be bullish on both gold and silver in the mid to long term. Short term, obviously, we always know that there's opportunities for fluctuations there. But I think the underlying dynamics of what's driving the marketplace haven't changed. The election may have put things on hold for a bit, but I think the way that this plays out is that the bull run continues for some time.
Jonathan, I got to tell you, clearly I'm biased, but I think the underlying fundamentals have done nothing but gotten stronger.
Yeah, I would agree. And with the election of President Obama, I think we now know what monetary policy is going to look like. I think that there's some concerns with respect to what will happen if and when we get to the fiscal cliff. But obviously there's not much more time. We have to wait before we get there. And I think going into next year, you are going to see money that has been patiently sitting on the sideline start to be reinvested because investors just can't sit on the sideline for that long. They've waited there patiently, and now it's time to put that capital to work.
I personally think that the investment community in the United States, anyway, North America, let's include Canada, I think you're going to see a certain following as, regarding actions over here compared to actions in the Far East. I mean, the Chinese and other Far Eastern countries are buying the daylights out of gold and silver. And you know what? They're not stupid people.
No, they're certainly not, and that's the program that we do in Asia is focused on mining opportunities on the continent, and we see tremendous opportunities not just in China, but in a whole host of countries in that region, Myanmar, the Philippines, Indonesia. There is a tremendous amount of activity that is going on over there, and that activity is going to fuel our industry probably for the next couple of decades.
I don't think there's any question about that. Any of you listening to this live in the San Francisco Bay Area, East Bay, West Bay, whatever, if you get a chance this Saturday, come on down to the Hard Asset Investment Conference. We're at the Marriott Hotel right downtown. I have to tell you, in terms of increasing education, you cannot, if you're interested in resources, if you're interested in hard assets and politics, you're not going to find a better venue. Stick around. Big Al's going to be right back.